Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good grief. Whenever you're catching this, today's headline story takes us straight to the Crescent City, where the New Orleans mayor, Latoya Cantrell, is facing indictment that's already been described as one of the most explosive scandals in the city's long, colorful political history of scandal. Uh, for the misuse of course, public funds to obstruction of justice, the charges laid out by the federal prosecutor read like a political thriller. Except this one is real, and it's unfolding right now in one of America's most iconic cities. On August 15th, a federal grand jury handed down a 44-page superseding indictment against Mayor Cantrell and former New York police officer Jeffrey Vappy. The charges? Well, let's go ahead and list them. First of all, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and then six separate counts of wire fraud. Okay, then conspiracy to obstruct justice, and then obstruction of justice. Two counts of making false declarations before the grand jury and making false statements to federal investigators. That's quite a laundry list. If you add it all up, it carries a potential penalty of more than 100 years in prison. Now, okay, of course, sentencing guidelines mean she wouldn't see anything like that, of course, but the point is clear. The government isn't playing small ball here. Okay, so what exactly do federal prosecutors say Cantrell did? Well, the core allegation is that she and her security officer, Jeffrey Vappy, carried on a personal relationship that was disguised as official business. Trips, overtime, security assignments, things meant to protect the mayor were allegedly used to cover up for some private time. Okay, prosecutors say Vappy was paid for hours he wasn't actually working, or was he working? Including on more than a dozen domestic and international trips. Wow. The indictment points to at least $70,000 in questionable expenses tied to this arrangement. Even more damning, the indictment says that Cantrell and Vappy deleted more than 15,000 WhatsApp messages, the very kind of evidence investigators were looking for. When asked under oath about the relationship and those trips, prosecutors claim that Cantrell lied to the grand jury. This is, this is why it isn't about romance or poor judgment. The charges are wire fraud, obstruction, and perjury. And those are serious federal felonies. Now, Cantrell was already a controversial figure in the New Orleans politics. She was the first woman elected mayor of the city, taking office in 2018. She pushed through a hard line on COVID restrictions that angered businesses, survived a recall effort, and butted heads frequently with city council. Now, if you remember COVID, and if you know anything about New Orleans lives and dies on on tourism, and not that isn't just in the quarter. That's everywhere. Everybody benefit in the entire city benefits on people coming to the quarter. And she was hard line, shut down, all that stuff, which killed a lot of businesses and destroyed a lot of lives. But anyway, she's also term limited, meaning that she can't run again in the upcoming October elections. That timing is extremely important because the indictment lands just as voters are preparing to choose her successor. For many residents, this feels like the end of a long, rocky relationship with the mayor whose tenure was marked by battles over crime, over housing, over city finances. Now those challenges are overshadowed by this scandal that could end in conviction. Now, here's why this case matters beyond Louisiana. New Orleans is a major American city. It is the hub of the Gulf Coast shipping, energy, and tourism. People don't think about that. People just think about the bars up and down, you know, Bourbon Street, but it's a hub for a lot of things that happen in that region. When the mayor is under federal indictment, it affects confidence in city government, economic investment, and the morale of a city that's already faced its share of crises. There's also a symbolic angle. New Orleans politics has long had a reputation for corruption, from the days of the old political machines to more recent scandals. For critics, this feels like a history just repeating itself. For supporters, just another example of political enemies taking down a trailblazing mayor. And then there's the national conversation. This Black female Democrat mayor facing federal charges under a Trump Justice Department. Supporters will raise the questions of selective prosecution. Yeah. Opponents will say, well, it's about time. The corruption was addressed. Both sides are already sharpening their talking points. So this ought to be interesting. Now, of course, Cantrell has pled not guilty. She insists the charges are baseless and they're politically motivated, and it's a distraction from the work of running the city. Her attorneys argue that trips were legitimate, security was necessary, and that her relationship with Vappy, however you define it, was not illegal. They also claim that deleting messages isn't the same as obstructing justice unless the government can prove intent. Well, I guess maybe she learned from Hillary Clinton. James Comey said you could just, yeah, all those 15,000, 30,000 emails, they got deleted. Don't worry about it. So the defense is going to frame this as overreach, an attempt to criminalize personal conduct, and perhaps even a vendetta against a mayor who made enemies. The trial date is set for October 19th, 2026. That's more than a year away. So in the meantime, New Orleans is still has to be governed. Cantrell remains in office until a successor takes over. 11 candidates are already running in October. There's an October 11th primary. 11 candidates. It's going to be a zoo. That means the city is heading into a campaign season with the current mayor under indictment. Wow. But between now and then, expect more leaks, more speculation, and plenty of finger pointing. So here's the takeaway. The mayor of New Orleans is staring down some of the most serious federal charges a public official can face: fraud, obstruction, and perjury. The government says she used her office for personal gain and then tried to cover it up. She says she's innocent. I'm being targeted. I was set up. Okay, but the story isn't over. Not by a long shot. But one thing is certain. In a city known for jazz, delicious gumbo, and resilience, the latest headline is one more reminder that politics in New Orleans is never boring.